to Berlin, everyone, where it is the home of the 2019 LEC Spring Split. We're here every week, but I would forget it because the games have been so damn awesome. This is the studio jam-packed to see everyone on the slate today. Upset one of our heroes of the day, as well as Broxa. I don't think they came out of the same taxi, because that would be bad for the game development. I'm EpicSkillshot, joined by Aaron Medic Chamberlain and Indiana Frosker in black. Yeah, well, I'm having a bit of trouble finding my words because I'm trying to recap all of the awesomeness that happened yesterday, and we have 5 more games today.
I have to admit, I was a little bit flabbergasted watching the games yesterday as well, especially XL versus G2. That game was a whopper. It was a stonker of a game.
I feel like your accent is showing some bias there.
Yeah,
tiny bit.
Within the first 10 seconds, you've already said like a bunch of Englandicisms like Whopper.
I'll keep putting them in, just layer them in.
Is it England or Burger King if you say Whopper?
That's a good point. Let's move on. Of course, let's talk about the teams, as yesterday many of them showed their strength, and the standings are starting to separate the teams on the table. Of course, still in pole position, we have G2 Esports and Misfits Gaming. And let's start by talking about those two. Misfits, of course, still look as flawless as ever after yesterday's games.
Yeah, and it's not just flawless, it's undefeated and uncontested. Misfits look so terrifying right now, and it just feels like there's a giant gap between G2 and Misfits and then everyone else.
Yeah, if it wasn't for alphabetical order, Misfits are at the top of that table. Like, the only reason G2 are there is because their first letter of their name comes first. And I think you have to look at G2 yesterday. There were a few falterings in those defenses. You know, against XL, they didn't look as strong as Misfits have against other teams. And I wonder if teams are now looking at G2 and thinking they can take these guys down.
Yeah, before they play each other, we need to take these games kind of at face value. Misfits crushed Origin very cleanly. G2 Esports had a lot of trouble with XL, so that leads us to believe that not everything was perfect yesterday in the G2 camp. Are they getting a bit too big for their boots? They're trying a lot.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it definitely looked really promising against XL, but I'm not sure if G2 actually really broke a sweat. They seem so jovial. Yeah. You looked at the player cams, they're laughing, they're having fun. They were having fun afterwards. Wonder says the team atmosphere is super laid back and chill, so I don't even know if we've seen G2 pressured yet.
That's a good point, and they are still at the top of the table, so no worries there for them. And then let's take a look also at the middle of the pack teams, because some of those have been putting up strong performances. Now, we already mentioned that G2 XL match, and now I would like to talk about that UK lineup, because this is a fight I didn't expect them to put up, but they did.
I don't think anyone expected them to put up this fight. You have to look at just how well coordinated they were in their team fights, how strong their team synergy seems to be, and their willingness to take fights against a team that should have just outclassed them.
And frankly, that's a huge shout out to both Kasing and Kadril. Kadril in the Nocturne in particular, and then Kasing as the leader and shot caller of that team, making sure that they were leading them and had a really good punch back and forth with G2.
Yeah, it was great to see for them. They were, of course, distraught after losing that game, and I hope they take away from that they can challenge teams like G2 and hopefully beat them the next time around. And when it comes to that middle of the pack, there's a lot of hopeful signs. Schalke 04 impressed me so much yesterday versus SK, because I think this was one of those defining games for them, because this is most likely going to be one of your direct competitors for playoff spots, and how clean they looked with Abadaga and with Upset was inspiring.
And kind of in the conversation of who's going to come third, again, if it's, you know, Misfits, G2, whatever order you want to put them in, for third, it almost feels like Schalke just belong there or almost have grabbed it. I think after today, if they put up a strong showing, then definitively they get to be like that third place team, or the team that everyone's looking to take down. And it is in a huge part because of Abadaga.
I totally agree with that. I think Abadaga is probably our standout EU rookie mid of the year. Alongside that, so far, of the year so
Ship
far.
It! He's already given away the trophy.
Sweeping Sabres, let's go. I think you do have to look at some of the other teams battling for that third spot as well. Vitality, one of the big candidates. They improved a lot for me yesterday. Much more well-rounded team. Still not perfect, but a lot stronger than they were in week 1.
As we're approaching all of this chronologically, or more, in order of how we see them in the standings, rather, what doesn't happen very often is that we talk about Fnatic last, because we are used to seeing them at the top of the tables, but now they are hanging there without a single win so far, and we are 2 weeks in.
Yeah, it's the first time we've ever seen Fnatic go 0-3 in their first 3 games as well. It's disappointing for them as a roster overall, and I know a lot of fans will be saying this is not the expectation we had out of Fnatic. I still give them a little bit of time, but I think if they don't start winning next game, the game after, then you should start getting worried.
I don't know. I'm almost ready to sound the panic or the alarm bells, because can't quite seem that you can pinpoint what's going wrong with Fnatic. It's no longer simply easy to say, you know, this is a Nemesis problem. Nemesis, he's not showing up, he's playing too safe. It feels like it's kind of more scattered than that.
Well, I'm going to play right into your cards, Fraskurin, because we are about to embark on some shocking statements with Week 2 underway. Now, these are some bold, audacious, fearless, shocking statements, and the first one is about Fnatic. Now, before I tell you what it is, you can also join in and voting in chat. Spam yes or no to say if you agree with the statements or you don't. And the first one is Fnatic are done. Now, Frosk, you already touched on it. And let's just be clear. When I say Fnatic are done as a shocking statement, I mean maybe they won't even make playoffs. They are done for the spring split. What do you guys think?
Oh, because that's the thing. It's all about the context. You know, does it mean that they're going to win the spring split? Does it mean that they're going to go into playoffs? Does that mean that they're going to go 0-4 in their first 2 weeks of the LEC? Right now, I'm going to look short-sighted. I'm going to say yes. I think Fnatic are done for now because there seems to be massive synergy issues about what their playstyle is going to be and who's going to take responsibility and lead this team.
I definitely agree with that. I think we heard yesterday Reckless talking about how he wants to step up to the plate and be the big carry for the team. He did not show us that yesterday at all. And if that's their game plan coming into the day and they can't execute it at all in a game, I'm really worried for Fnatic overall as a team.
Yeah, we'll see in a second what the people at home think. They are hopefully spamming in chat as well. But when it comes to Fnatic, if you look at it from an analyst eye, Frosker, and you see there are 4 out of the 5 members returning. They have extreme experiences in some cases, like Reckless. They've been to the world stage, to the finals. They've played throughout that whole split. It almost seems unthinkable that they wouldn't even make playoffs or that they wouldn't even end up in the top 4.
It's almost hard for me to say, you know, this was the world championship team, and then yeah, you retain majority of those members. You've got people like Whippo, but it's still a very different playstyle. Losing Caps and Soaz was a huge blow because the meta that made them so potent and powerful at that World Championship was the ability to play through the solo lanes. That's what defined the world meta. And losing both Soaz and Caps is a huge blow to that. So it was almost not necessarily the perfect storm for Fnatic, but it's just a very different take, and they need to almost reinvent the wheel to get them back going.
Yeah, we have a technical hip-hop. We can't actually see what the fans have voted, but can we take a guess? If the question is Fnatic
I'm going to say no.
I don't think they're done yet.
I think the same thing. Well, I hope the system catches up, but we can't move on with our next statement that may be shocking to some people. Oh, I just got it. 61% said yes, Fnatic are done.
That's exciting. I actually think there's a bit of a clarifier there. I think old Fnatic is done. Like, we're never going to see the Caps Fnatic evermore. I don't think we're ever going to see the Fnatic that dominates Worlds and makes it to finals. We will see a new Fnatic with Nemesis, and it might take some time for them to get there.
Spoiler alert, this is the new shocking statement, the second one, XL top 4. Now, we touched on it already, and I think I'm definitely a bit more on the hype train because they played so well versus G2. Is this a stretch or not?
But that's the thing, they just lost the game, and now we're top 4.
It was so close.
I feel like, again, for me, you're talking about Schalke, you're talking about Vitality, you're talking about Origin. Like, there are so many other names that I feel like are still in the mix, and I just need to see more consistency from Cadril and Exile, and that's a huge problem there. Consistency from Exile.
This is a residue from the Fnatic vote, I think, because now it's starting to shift for the XL.
People are saying it's not a shocking statement. I think if it was XL in playoffs, everyone would agree. I think you have to agree that XL look like they can make playoffs right now.
Yeah.
Top 4 is a little bit of a stretch, but you know, I'm a UK lad. I'm going to side with the UK lads.
Do you think it should be in their expectations at this point? After, I mean, they also went 1-1 in week 1, albeit it was against Rogue, but they won that one. They put up such a good fight versus G2. Yeah, maybe they should change their own expectations as well.
Yeah, I also think it's, you know, trust in the system. The cool thing about XL, you know, 10-man roster, flying in from London every single time, huge traditional sports background and facility. Like, obviously, they're investing from the ground up to make sure that they find the success. I don't think it's overreaching to say playoffs.
Well, no, but top 4 seems to be an overreaching. I think our viewers are very realistic, down-to-earth people that say, no, I don't believe it yet. I mean, there are a lot of very strong teams vying for that top 4.
Either that, or they're mostly about, like, glass half empty. They're like, no one Fnatic, no one top 4, no one is happy.
All right, let's take a look at the next one, and also a very positive one for one team at least. It is Misfits Gaming are going to go 18-0. They look incredibly strong. They are undefeated, but they've been at 10-0 before. And it didn't work out.
That's the thing. They were 10-0 last year, and it didn't work out for them at all. They only just about made it into the 3rd place match and came 4th. The last time we saw an 18-0 team was Fnatic in 2015. Misfits look that strong to me. The way they played in their first 3 games, I actually think Misfits going 18-0 is the least shocking of all of these statements.
Yeah, that's the thing. You know, if we talk about new Fnatic, that's a completely different Misfits that had that bad run, you know, to shoot off the record and then to kind of stall out. I think this Misfits is the real deal. I think they're absolutely terrifying, and no one has pushed them far enough to make them show any other strategy. They just get to keep carrying through the bot lane, and if that eventually does get shut down, they still have the likes of Febby in the mid lane, who's playing assassins, who's obviously very confident, and so as in the top lane.
I think that's the only question. Like, have they practiced enough stuff outside of just playing through bot that when someone shuts them down in the bot lane, they can then adapt in the game and still take the win?
I'm going to say resoundingly yes, because I think also already in these games, for how much we talk about Hansama and Gorilla, Maxlor is playing out of his mind. Febvin had a good game yesterday. So as is that Rock. He has always been in that top lane, and the viewers at home think,
slowly starting to agree with this.
40% it's coming in now.
I think the tiny thing I want to add is, like, Misfits only have to lose 1 game for this to fail, right?
Yeah.
They only have to have 1 bad early game where they, like, 4 people die and maybe they lose the game, right?
I mean, really, this question is asking at this point, can Misfits beat G2? Because theoretically, that's the only competition that they have. And so right now, all I see is 60% are G2 fans.
I think that's probably far-fetched. But a lot of people, our viewers at home, I just have to say, they're very rational. They're very realistic. They don't want to be too optimistic, and I like it. And I like that we got your input at home as well. Now, with all the teams underway, that also means that we have a lot of new players we've seen for the first time in the last couple of weeks, players that are trying to build their legacy here in EU. So we wanted to take a look at the rookie class of 2019. We're going to take a look at the coming stars of EU: Selfmade, Crownshot, Nemesis, Humanoid, Abadara, and Jeskla. Very awe-inspiring names already, which I think is saying a lot when we're only 2 weeks in.
Yeah, you got 3 EU mid laners that are going to try to carry that torch and that mantle. You have a brand new ADC and then the jungler. And I've said it before, I'm going to say it again, and I have to talk about my boy Selfmade. I feel like these rookies are definitely more than just a flash in the pan. They are the next generation of EU talent. We saw what Vitality did with that title at Worlds, and now I'm looking to this next iteration, this next chapter in the LEC.
Yeah, we're putting a lot on their shoulders because EU does have a great tradition of bringing in the rookies that then develop tremendously throughout their first years, and some of them we have high hopes for, especially in the mid lane.
Yeah, I think you always have to focus on the EU mids when you're talking about rookies, because following in the footsteps of people like Forbidden, Caps, Froggen, Bjergsen, and last year's spring rookie of the split, the Italian Stallion, you have Abadage, Humanoid, and Nemesis, who are all trying to keep their EU legacy alive. And the question is, how much have they impressed us? Because across the first 2 weeks, all of these guys have started to show signs of life. Nemesis especially, thrust into the limelight as he replaces the best mid EU has probably ever seen, struggled in week 1. But on Fnatic yesterday, although they faltered, he had a much stronger performance on his Galio. 1v1ing Jizuke in the mid lane, and then having some strong team fights in the later portion of the game as well. Although Fnatic lost, Nemesis can take a lot out of that game. On the other side of the rift, we have people like Humanoid, a previous member of Mad Lions. He's played in several European regional leagues, including the Hitpoint Masters in his home country of Czech Republic, and also on the Turkish League for Dark Passage. Humanoid has perfectly slotted into Splice's playstyle. He's got commanding performances in their wins against XL and Rogue, and he has shown a flexibility of playstyles. It's what it takes to forge a great EU mid. Now, speaking of Turkey and the TCL, a player that got his breakthrough in this scene is Abadage. He is such a strong player, especially when you get power picks like his Lissandra. He's played 3 games on it thus far. He's probably the most overlooked of our EU mids. He's come out of the gate swinging with his flank plays, his teamfight initiations, and overall, just his ability to help Schalke claw back victory from the jaws of defeat. Now, all of these players have the talent, the will, the determination it takes to succeed on the Rift, but the LEC is the hardest challenge they've faced so far. And the question I ask you guys is one of these guys the next EU superstar?
Well, you say Abadaga has been overlooked, but he's almost impressed me the most out of the 3, maybe with Humanoid in second, and unfortunately for Nemesis right now third. I do want to see what happens if he doesn't get his signature Lissandra, but I feel he slotted into that team and kind of elevated the team and its identity very quickly, because last year Schalke was relatively reserved and slow in much parts of the game. This time around, they're approaching the game from a much more aggressive standpoint, and I'm loving it.
Yeah, for me, it's just how he is able to slot in with Ignar and Memento. And you don't normally expect that from a brand new team with a lot of players that shouldn't have that type of inbuilt synergy. How they move around the map, how they're creating such a perfect backbone to kind of lay down the red carpet for Upset just to knock it out of the park.
And there are times we look back at Schalke games and thought it was the enemy team making mistakes, and it was actually Schalke just setting up incredibly well. Their vision control is on point, and RDY is a key part of that for the team.
Yeah, I agree. And you also mentioned Humanoid has had great performances on Splyce. Nemesis still growing within Fnatic. I think the jury is still out there, but nevertheless, 3 people that we're having our eyes on to develop hopefully into that next superstar EU mid. So let's take a look at who those mids are going to play today in the 5 games up on the schedule. Of course, we're going to start out with Schalke and Abadaga versus Nemesis and Fnatic. So 2 of those rookies are on the docket immediately. And our match of the week at the end, Misfits versus Vitality. But a lot of interesting possible battles for the middle of the pack today as well.
Yeah, I think SKXL is a really exciting game for me. We talked about how XL probably have their eyes on playoffs now. SK need to prove to me that their win against Fnatic wasn't just a flash in the pan, it wasn't just a one-off. If they can have a strong game today, that gives me a little bit more hope for that lineup.
And then likewise, I mean, everyone's going to look at Misfits and Vitality to see if Vitality have learned from their week 1 mistakes. It seems that they've made a lot of progress in week 2, but if they're just going to be, you know, a roadblock to Misfits or a speed bump.
Yeah, I said a lot of games that will hopefully make us be a bit more aware or see how we can evaluate some of these teams as they go up against the teams that they're likely going to have to face in playoffs. Splyce versus Origin is in the same vein for me. Origin needs something to make up for yesterday. Splyce won. Going 2-0 has been a problem for them in the past. This could be a big chance.
What's really interesting to me is kind of where the pain points were for both Splyce and Origin are kind of in completely different camps. Origin, it was a lot about the individual mistakes, you know, dying 1v1 in the top lane, getting caught out when you're trying to make clean rotations. For Splyce, it was more about the indecisiveness to pull the trigger when you were ahead to make sure that you could close out your leads earlier.
A lot of good stuff. So also, let's take a look at the predictions for these good matches. Now, before we get to the actual ones, I just want to point out that I am currently on top of the predictions, and the only reason why I'm making a big woohoo out of this is because I probably won't stay there very long. Me and Twitter, we rule the world. You're behind Twitter.
It's Twitter analysts, you know? They sit in their armchair. It's so easy to watch the game from home.
Wait. I do have a question, though, just because Shocks, then sorry if I'm putting you on the spot, you went for Fnatic over Schalke.
I did. So yesterday in PGL, I thought maybe I should change my vote. I think Fnatic is going to turn it around at some point, and I knew that StatsBot would vote for Schalke. And listen, last year around, I only took the risks later on. This time around, if I get that one correctly and Fnatic doesn't let me down, you're all behind me. You're all in the dust.
I think the other game that really excites me is the Splyce Origin, because all of us there have voted for Origin, but I actually think that's a super close game. Yeah. And StatsBot got 5 out of 5 yesterday, and is going for Splyce, so I'm pretty worried about my prediction.
We laughed so much at StatsBot that now it's said, listen up, guys. Now I'm started. The machines are taking
It's downloaded all the data, and it's ready to beat us.
I mean, frankly, he threw the first week, it threw the first week, and now it's running us over. Just, Skynet.
Skynet is real.
Twitter, I just want you to know, you know, we're leading. We're leading the pack.
Good job, Twitter.
In that glory. There we go. Now, later tonight, hopefully, we get much more predictions right. And we've also have our match of the week with Vitality versus Misfits. Let's take a look.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live for the finals weekend here in Spain.
They can change players, it's not gonna change the results. We still have the same roster that beat them, right? So I think we have the edge.
But look at Jasuke! He just destroyed.
We were in a slump, and while we were on the ground, they managed to beat us.
Vitality are your 3rd best team in Europe.
The last time we saw Vitality play against Misfits was 3-1 to Vitality. Misfits started off strong, but Vitality then just demolished them in the next 3 games. And it kind of put the cap on Misfits' bad year overall. Misfits have stuck with 2 of their core lineup from last year in Maxlaw and Hans Sama, but they brought in 3 veterans from the rest of the world of League of Legends.
You have Soaz, you have Gorilla, you have Maxlor. This is like 3,000 IQ. They have everything to succeed.
Kikis has been spotted out. The red buff is there. They thought the Lee Sin started topside. They fell right into the trap, and now Gorilla's going in. He's looking for the first kill. Kikis burning down. Slowly but surely hasn't gotten it yet. First blood! That's what you want to see if you're a Misfits fan.
Maxlor is one of the better junglers, but we got a Korean, so I think he stands no chance.
Nah, Mowgli just seems like such a nice guy. Like, I can't blame him.
Mowgli is a mechanical god, just what you want in a jungler.
What? Really? When we scrimmed against them, I was like, holy crap, Kikis is really bad now. And then I realized it was not Kikis.
And with the might of Thor, Misfits just wipe SK off the map, and they beat SK into the dirt.
Gorilla's a smurfer. Boom.
I think Hansama and Gorilla are great, right? But I think individually we are better.
Attila now picked up. He can't sell. He can't move out. Oh my! Just deliver it to him!
They don't look as dominant in lane. This guy's picking Karthus and just chilling. That's not really his play style. But you know what? If you don't want to play to your strengths, go for it.
If he doesn't do well against me, then it's really over for them because I will just carry the game.
I don't think you can ever discount Team Vitality, right? They defined the meta at Worlds. They took games off RNG and almost made it to the quarterfinals.
As against Misfits, the game is gonna be Schalke style now.
We've got two teams that love to fight in an aggressive meta with nothing to hold them back. It's going to be a bloodbath because this matchup is war.
Well, I wish Febiven was that feisty about his opponents. Yes, I mean, he was actually, and now he's doing it again. This is one of the featured matchups in this game, but the cool thing about it is that every single lane is probably going to be action-packed, and as they say, going to be bloody.
I feel like the simplest way to look at this is you just kind of have to split the map. Bot side, you're going to give it to Misfits. We've seen them carry through the Gohan bot lane, Hansama and Gorilla every single time. Maxlow just throws everything in the kitchen sink into it, and everything just blows up down there. For Vitality, it's all about CHK up in that top lane. He's been repeatedly running Jason to opponents and just smacking top laners around.
And I think your worry if your Vitality is, can CHK get far enough ahead? Because every time we've seen him take first tower, be 30, 40 CS up, is that enough to shut down Gorilla and Hansama, who are coming up from bot lane, be like, guys, got 10 kills? Just swagging up there into the top lane. You're like, okay, I'll just take you on.
Yeah, exactly. And also, he's up versus SOAS. You know, the guy is in his 8th professional year on the stage and playing League of Legends, and he's still at an extremely high level. He also always flies a lot under the radar, but that's going to be a super hype matchup just across the board. And I am looking forward to this as well because I definitely want to see the World's Jizuke, the Spring Split Jizuke consistently. So I hope that's what we'll get to see versus Febiven.
I mean, if it's a race to the bot lane for Misfits, it's a race to the top lane for Vitality, it has to start in that mid lane. Who's going to get control with their jungler and start pivoting to outside lanes?
Yeah, so important because if Vitality are able to take down Misfits, all of a sudden they say, what did you say? Top 2 Misfits G2? No, no, no. We are in the running.
Exactly, and you have to take the moniker super team away from Misfits if Vitality win as well. Like I talked to SOAS yesterday, he was saying this has the potential to be the best team he's ever played on. If you then lose to Vitality at the end of week 2, where do you stand in the grand scheme of things?
Yeah, going to be absolutely great. That is at the end of the day, though, and you'll also have a very cool extra as you'll be able to watch the POV stream of Hansama on twitch.tv/RiotGames2. No worries, we'll repeat it when we get there, but you'll be able to see how exactly he kills minions and probably also a lot of champions. Well,
that's the hope.
That is the hope. We've talked quite a bit, though, and as shoutcasters, we do also want to hear from you guys, so we sent quick shout out on the street, actually, to the studio to talk to some of the fans. Let's see what he got.
Thank you very much, Sharks. Yes, Vitality versus Misfits. It is the match of the week, and I figured I don't quite trust the analysts there next to you, so I'm actually going to ask some real experts who is going to win today's game. Starting, of course, over here. First of all, tell me your name, and then tell me who's going to win the game.
Okay, I'm Sebastian, and in my opinion, Misfits will win.
Why are they going to win the game?
Because they got 3 French players.
3 French players. I'm guessing he's French.
It's obvious.
But you're not dressed like Renekton, so I can't quite believe you. All right, Vitality versus Misfits. Who are you and who's going to win?
I think Misfits is going to win because I like them, and he said the truth. There's 3 French in the team, so...
Have I got 3 Frenchmen here with me? It looks like it. It looks like it. All right.
French.
So, no love for Vitality, even though you're French?
I love Vitality, but in League of Legends, I prefer Misfits because SOAS, Febiven, Ants is like the gods.
Well, listen, somebody needs to tell Border Patrol these French guys aren't taking the Vitality organization. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you. Good chat.
All right, it's time for a quick fire round. I'm going to ask a couple of fans some questions. I'm going to give them 2 options. They're only allowed to pick 1. All right, so the rules are simple. I'm going to start with an easy question. Who is the true European super team? G2 Esports or Misfits?
Misfits.
That's the correct answer. You may leave. Who should QuickShot date next? VODS or Becca?
Becca.
Oh, nice. Very good answer. She's going to love you for that. Next question. Which character do you prefer the most? VODS, Detective VODS, or Flexius?
Flexius, of course.
Flexius, of course. It's the muscles, I can tell. All right, let's take a look at next. Who is the best player in LEC right now? Caps or SOAS?
SOAS, French.
There we go, I like that. Last question and the most difficult. No pressure now. We are going to quote this for the rest of the split. Who will win the LEC Spring Split?
Misfits.
Misfits it is. Thank you very much. Enjoy the show. Ladies and gentlemen, the LEC has been invaded. Is everybody here French? I heard them talking about baguettes. It was just too obvious. So we're about to carry on with RDY, and Schalke will be taking on Fnatic. Now, I have a lovely French translator here who's going to be helping me break down the analysis of one of the most amazing players to have ever played the game. Let's talk Schalke versus Fnatic. What is going to be the main factor for either team to win?
Qu'est-ce qui va faire, enfin, quel va être le facteur pour que l'équipe gagne, pour que ce soit Fnatic, soit Schalke, qu'est-ce qui va faire, quelles vont être les conditions de victoire?
Donc moi, je pense réellement que Fnatic, pour vraiment qu'il gagne, il va falloir vraiment jouer sur un jungle qui va être très agressif et qui gagne vraiment le début de partie pour vraiment donner de l'entrain et du mouvement à la partie.
If Fnatic wants to win, they need to take an early jungle and like crash the game very early.
All right, early game. I have one more question before we head back to RDY is, will Fnatic stop sucking?
Est-ce que Fnatic va arrêter de puer la merde?
I think they understand English.
Actuellement, j'espère pas, mais vu le début de parcours qu'ils ont fait, ils sont bien partis pour.
What is he saying?
He thinks if they still play like this, it's gonna be for the rest of the splits.
For the rest of the split, there we go. I just have one last question. France, what is your profession? Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Let's carry on with RDY.
That's great. I love how he started by interviewing 3 French people, and then they exponentially became more. They also think Febiven is French, by the way.
Apparently so.
He's from
Belgian.
the Netherlands.
Oh, it's Netherlands.
Oh
yeah.
my god, I cannot believe you just did that.
Very close.
We're a small country, we need everything we can get, but Febiven is, of course, from the Netherlands. Anyway, we did also hear about Fnatic. The fans didn't have too much trust in a first Fnatic victory. Let's see what you guys think. They're up versus Schalke 04, and that is a rematch of the 2018 Summer Finals in Copenhagen. We all remember their Schalke were huge underdogs. Have the tables turned today?
I'm going to say a soft yes right now. So, okay, maybe a hard
yes.
yes.
As hard as you want. That's yes is concrete right now.
I don't think Fnatic are done just yet, but this could be the nail in their coffin before I start to really heavily lean there. That said, completely different team. Schalke have rebuilt, they still got upset, and Fnatic are going through massive growing pains without Caps and SOAS there. And for me, it's really homing in on the brand new mid laners. You know, this is the chance for Nemesis to prove that, yes, I'm right in my my element, or Abadage to really just stamp his authority and say, no, I am the rookie EU mid laner.
Abadage, who we already have talked about plenty, but, you know, he is someone we're looking at this matchup, and I think the point you made about Schalke just seeming on the same page and very synergized straight off the start of the split is awesome for them.
I mean, Abadage just has to be your key man whenever you look at Schalke now, because he just has the ability to always be on the front foot in team fights. Like, we've seen a few mid laners play the Lissandra, wait for the end of a team fight to actually get their ult off, wait until they can pick someone off. He's the guy leading the charge. He's the guy stepping forward, and Schalke are playing well around him.
I mean, when you have such a talented guy like Upset and all he needs to do is focus on carrying as opposed to just hard carrying his team, I think that's when things go well. On the other side, though, you do have Nemesis on his Galio, had a much stronger performance yesterday. So hopefully it's a bit of a better fair matchup, but I do actually agree with the fans on this one. I actually think it starts in the jungle, and the mid laners are simply just assets to that front.
Yeah, but if people arrive in their mid lane, they should hopefully take advantage of the situation and start to snowball the game. And that's, I think, the core of also what we want to see from Fnatic in a big part, because we can't be like beat around the bush here. The biggest question is Fnatic going to start winning anytime soon? And is it now, Medic?
I don't think so. I think Schalke will take this win, but I think if Fnatic are going to win, you want to see more from Nemesis in that mid lane, right? He's playing up against another rookie mid. We saw him get a solo kill on Jizuke yesterday, and he wasn't able to translate that into big victories. He needs to do more.
Yeah, I'm also going to make a little caveat to that, because yes, Nemesis is the new guy, but I think the rest of Fnatic should realize that and should kind of play to that, because you can't expect this guy to go crush everyone from his first game on the Rift. I need some of the other members on that team, like Reckless, who's been to the World championship many times, who has so many titles. I want these guys to focus and get the advantage going for themselves. I want Bwipo not to jump into team fights and engage when it's absolutely not the opportune time. I think there's so many players there and a wealth of experience that this whole team needs to take a good, hard look at themselves.
It's about responsibility and who's going to step up and carry that responsibility. We expect it to be someone like Reckless. He said it in the interviews, but even just on the field, it's also off the field. You know, you've got the 6-star General and Young Bucks standing behind them. Some of the drafts have been a bit of a head scratcher. I think you can go back and forth on it, but I just want someone to take responsibility of this Fnatic ship and drive it in the right direction.
And I think the thing that Schalke are doing so well is they have those players taking responsibility. Memento and Ignar take responsibility for early game vision. Upset takes responsibility for team fights. Abaddage takes responsibility for invades. And then you have Odo sitting on the top lane like, cool, I'll tank for the game. Sweet, I'll be your front line. I'll do exactly what I need to do. Everyone on that team knows their role, knows their position, and is playing it perfectly.
Absolutely. An unprecedented poor start for Fnatic. It can be turned around right here with a win. Let's see if they have what it takes as we get into our first